It might not be the storyline that interests you the most, but it's a national storyline nonetheless. Josh Heupel going back to Oklahoma this week for a football game. The Tennessee boss man opened up about his time with the Sooners. All that here on a Tuesday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane, and a big shout, as always, to our friends over at FanDuel for being a part of the show today, now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to go ahead and get started today. We have got a wild show coming up today. Gonna hear what Josh Heupel had to say about Oklahoma here in segment 1 and get in tons and tons of your mailbag questions here, you everydayers, in segments 2 and 3. Got a lot of questions to get into, so going to try to move it along pretty quickly here on today's show. But as always, I do appreciate you guys for watching the show, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning, and making it a part of your routine. Okay, so I'm going to be completely candid with you guys. Josh Heupel, as we've talked about here before, and as you've seen in media clips and all that, Josh Heupel, nice guy. I like Josh Heupel a lot. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good person. I think he's a confident guy. He's a guy that doesn't forget a thing. He doesn't like talking to the media, and that's fine. He only does it so he doesn't get fined, Marshawn Lynch style, right? Written in your contract, if you're going to be the head coach of a Power 4 university, you've got to do media obligations, so he has to do it. He does not like doing it. He doesn't give away anything. He doesn't answer questions hardly ever. Not disrespectful to us, but that's just not his forte. On Monday morning, man, he was the best I think I've ever seen him. Because it's a topic that we know he doesn't want to talk about, but we as media members have to ask, right? Because it's a huge deal. Not only is this a huge deal, and we'll continue to talk about it all week long, Tennessee, Oklahoma, but it's also Josh Heupel going back to Oklahoma. He won a national championship there as a quarterback. He was a Heisman runner-up there in 2000. He coached there. He got his starting coaching. I mean, he GA'd there, then went, somewhere, I believe, with Mike Stoops for a year or two, then went back to Oklahoma and eventually was offensive coordinator, calling offensive plays and quarterbacks coach. He was a part of 2 Heisman Trophy winners, upbringing, and Sam Bradford and Sam White, I believe. He wasn't the OC or anything back then, but I think he was the quarterbacks coach, or maybe he was a GA. Sam White, that's his name, right? The lefty, number 7 or whatever from Oklahoma. I'll look it up later. He had a lot of success there. But as we know, coming off a really good year in 2013 and 2014, Oklahoma took a step back. Got embarrassed in a bowl game. Josh Heupel's offense, however, scored 36 points per game. And this isn't 2024. This was 2014. Sure, the game and the offense, the offensive part of the game was evolving and changing, but you weren't scoring a whole lot of points, even like it is now, which is the norm. Now, Josh Heupel's offense averaged 36 or 34 points per game that year. But Bob Stoops elected to keep his brother, Mike Stoops, as defensive coordinator, where the defense was a huge issue there that year, and essentially made Josh Heupel to be a scapegoat. And as I've been talking with some people throughout the early week, and I've talked to already numerous Oklahoma people, and I've studied, I knew the story, obviously, but it's very relevant this week. It seems to me like for both parties it worked out very, very nicely. Oklahoma went on to get Lincoln Riley. What can you say? That was not a bad hire whatsoever. Say what you want about him being a head coach, but Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, in terms of quarterbacks, not bad. That worked out. Josh Heupel went on, found success. Offensive coordinator at some power institutions, then was a head coach at UCF, and now he's here. It seems to have worked out on all sides. However, come on, the dude essentially got fired. I believe it was technically his contract was not renewed, but he got fired. And Josh Heupel doesn't forget a thing. Josh Heupel holds grudges. And so I don't think that he's never said it publicly, nor will he ever, but Josh Heupel does not like Bob Stoops. Not like Bob Stoops. However, he recognizes Oklahoma as being a place that is very special to him when he was there as a player, when he was there as a coach, the relationships that he's built. So we as media have to ask the questions. On Monday said, right out of the gate. Let's get it out. It was Mark Packer. My boss at Rivalry Thursday comes to maybe 3 or 4 press conferences a year. Love you, Pack. He says, right from the top, let's get it out of the way. You're going back to Oklahoma. What's that going to be like for you? Listen to this, man. I mean, pretty good answer here.
Yeah, it'll be unique. I had teammates and friends back there. They hit me up a little bit early. They were starting last week already. It'll be unique going back into that stadium. It's going to be a viewpoint. I'm not sure I've ever spent a day on the opposing sideline inside of that stadium, not even for a scrimmage. So it'll be different, but it's one that I'm really looking forward to. There's so many people that have been a huge part of my journey that I get a chance to go back and hopefully get a chance to say hi to a bunch of them. It starts with teammates. It's coaches that I had. It's a lot of coaches that I coached with. There's a lot of personnel that's still there. Guys that I coached, guy that was in my wedding. There's a lot of people back there that I'm familiar with and have a lot of respect for.
So it's going to be unique. It's going to be weird for him to be on that opposing sideline. No ifs, ands, buts about it. But it's going to be unique going back there. I think he mentioned, or he will mention here in this next clip I'll play, that he's got relationships with, there's a guy on staff that was in his wedding, the people from the administration, the fan base. I mean, he's got great memories there, right? So I thought that was a really, really good answer, saying it's going to be unique. He goes on, somebody I think had a follow-up question saying that, like, we know you don't want to answer questions about Oklahoma and your experience this week, but so on and so forth. And he's like, hey, you'll hear it here. He's like, hey, I can answer whatever you want this week. He won't, but, he knows that's one of the 3 media appearances he's going to be doing all week long, and really the only one with us, the main beat guys. Listen to this. And in this clip, he goes into detail about Mike Leach and Bob Stoops bringing him to Oklahoma and kind of how everything transpired.
I'm good with any question about Oklahoma. Like the opportunity that I got, from Bob and from Mike to come there and play, what we were able to build there in a short amount of time as a player. But then my coaching career, from, the guys that I played for to all the coaches that were there during my career, all made a huge impact on me, and I wouldn't be here today at Tennessee if I didn't have all of those experiences. So tremendously grateful for all those people, and Brent is somebody that I learned and grew from as a young coach so much, and a ton of respect for him.
Again, Josh Heupel knocks it out of the park. He was asked about SEC media days a little bit. He's been asked about it here, there, and everything, and he just gives the generic answer. He's not going to give any bulletin board material, and I truly do believe him. It's like, hey, we're going home, right? I do think that Tennessee is his home now, and I think that he's so happy here, and he's so proud of what he's built, and he wants to keep going. But, you get that, like I said on yesterday's show, you get that little feeling, when you go home, and it's special, and there's still special people there that mean an awful lot to him, and so I thought those were some good answers. I was not expecting Josh Heupel to be remotely that candid on Monday's press conference. I wasn't. I wish he was that candid and that open and that good every time he took to the microphone. He was really good yesterday. He answered those questions superbly. Talking about Bob Stoops, who he, again, will never say on record, he does not like Bob Stoops. He does not like Mike Stoops, I don't believe. There's always a reason why Tennessee wants to run up the score against, Mark Stoops at Kentucky, right? Guilty by association. It's a Heupel in a certain extent. Speaking of which, that 2014, the last 2014 Oklahoma coaching staff, the last year that Heupel was there, a young Joey Halsley was offensive graduate assistant. So I thought that was kind of interesting there. He references Mike Leach in that last clip we heard. Of course, Mike Leach was his mentor. Mike Leach meant a world to him, and Josh Heupel spoke about Mike Leach since his passing a couple of times. So I wanted to play those clips for you guys. I thought he was really, really good, and good for Josh Heupel, because from a business perspective, this is, us talking right here. From a business perspective, you never obviously want to burn a bridge, because you never know what can happen. And I'm not saying he's going to go back there and coach. I'm not saying that at all. But you never want to burn bridges with anybody in this industry if you're a coach, if you're an administrator. It's just not, it's not good business. So Anyway, I thought he was really, really good in that respect. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Hey, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit of Oklahoma. We'll talk a ton of Oklahoma. I'll have some guests on throughout the week. Don't you worry. We're going to get you set for Tennessee and the Sooners. A massive, massive football game coming up in Norman, Oklahoma, end of the week. But answering your questions on the mailbag portion of the show, that is coming up next. We continue on here with a Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Hey, Locked On Vols fans, have you heard about ROY? It stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and that's half the game, right? In December and January, it's re-recruiting your roster. It's just kind of the world we're living in. And keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game for athletes. ROY changes the NIL game for fans. So aside from directly supporting the players, you can get exclusive content access. When fans contribute to a successful campaign, they receive access to exclusive content from the athlete, such as announcement decisions, behind-the-scene footage, and other personal reflections, all of which are available only to the fans who are supporting the athlete. No-risk contributions. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan support. If not, the money is returned to that fan. So I encourage you to download ROY on iOS or Android, put in the referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Again, that is Locked On, referral code Locked On at ROY on the iOS or Android. You can also go to joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with ROY this football season. All right, guys, welcome back into your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Got a couple of special guests coming up at some point this week, but we know we'll have Josh Ward on the show for Ward Wednesday coming up on tomorrow's show. So I encourage you guys to come back as we all get ready for Tennessee and Oklahoma coming up on Saturday, 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC. College Game Day is going to be in-house for the Sooners. I believe it's the first time, and gosh, guys, I want to say it's at least a decade. I heard it the other day and I forgot, so I do apologize. It's the first time in a long time that College Game Day has been to Oklahoma. I found that interesting. We know that FanDuel has Tennessee as a 7.5-point favorite right now. And listen to this right now. Tennessee is a touchdown favorite at Oklahoma in Week 4. Per ESPN Stats and Info, it's the first time the Sooners are a touchdown home underdog since November 21st, 1998 versus Texas Tech. Feels like 98, right? A ranked Oklahoma team hasn't been a home dog of more than 4 points since at least 1978. Man, that is incredible. So obviously this week breaks that. Oklahoma's number 15 in the country. Tennessee is number 6 in the country according to the AP poll. All right, so let's get into your questions. We'll head on over to the YouTube. Tons of you guys hit me up on YouTube this week, and I appreciate you guys. We'll start. I won't get to all the questions, so I do apologize up front. Let's go to David. How big of an impact does the new headsets rule make for Vols offense, and will it play a factor in the first road game this year for Nico? I think it can. Overall, I mean, Tennessee goes at a tempo pace, right? So they're still signaling a lot. But anytime you have that, that headset in, the direct communication from Halsley to Nico or whatever, just reminders, right? It's like, hey, watch cornerback side, or safety slow over the top, hit Dante down the seam, whatever it is. I think that's where it's going to pay dividends. So sure, I think it could help on the road, especially when it's loud. But again, the pre-snap operation's critical on the road too, because it's going to be so loud. Cooper, Nico, everybody's holding their water, waiting for the sign, waiting for the signal. They can go silent count or whatever. That's going to pay more dividends, in my opinion, in how Tennessee handles that. Wyatt Farms wants to know, we seem to be pretty healthy on both sides of the ball. Is anyone unavailable for the OU game other than the obvious season-ending injuries that we know about? Good question. We'll see. First injury report of the week. Remember, SEC rules now this year, Wednesday night and Saturday, 90 minutes before kickoff. The SEC has mandated injury reports, and it's going to be really interesting because Josh Heupel doesn't like to disclose anything, but there's a hefty fine there if you break them. So we'll see. Lance Hurd, I think, will play. I think he could have played last week. I think Lance Hurd will play. Cam Seldon, I think they held him last week. He did not come out in pregame warmups or anything. I know he was in concussion protocol, so we will see about him. But Cam Seldon, I would say, would be questionable. Outside of that, guys, help me out here. I don't, Mike Matthews is back. Braylon Staley's back. Edwin Spillman returned. Christian Charles is probably out, but I'll double check on that. Yeah, I think Tennessee's pretty healthy right now. That is not the case for Oklahoma, and we'll get to that later in the week. GBO5714 wants to know if we go into Athens undefeated, what are your predictions going to be for that game? Would Josh Heupel be able to handle that environment come the second time around? Again, that's a what-if situation. I don't know. Like, what does Georgia look like heading into that week? What did they do the week before? If they look like they did against Kentucky the week before they played Tennessee, yeah, like I feel good about the Vols. But what's Tennessee look like at that point in the season? If going in undefeated, obviously you beat Alabama, you win this game at Oklahoma, you take care of everybody else on the schedule, you beat Florida at home, Kentucky. We'll see. I'll have confidence for sure. If they play tomorrow, I've got confidence in Tennessee. But really just not enough data, right now, at least on Georgia's side, to make a prediction. But I'd be confident for sure. Boland family says, when will we start to hear that Dylan Sampson is a candidate for the Heisman talk? 3 100-yard games and 2 scores, and 2 of those he played only half of the game. Yeah, man, I am so high on Dylan Sampson. I think if he goes out and does what he's done so far on the road at Oklahoma, I think a performance like that on the road at Oklahoma could put him on the map for the Heisman talk. I really do. He's second in terms of rushing and all-purpose yards in the SEC right now, but I think a lot of that has to do simply with he hasn't played. Of the possible 12 quarters, I think he's played like 7 of them, him and Nico both. So as he continues to play, I think his production, if it keeps up, obviously, he'll be in that conversation, no doubt. But a performance like he's been doing on the road at Oklahoma, he'll jumpstart that conversation, jump right into it. C. Maples says, why do college football programs not have a JV program for freshmen and possibly sophomores not ready for the level 1 and level 2 play so they can get real-time reps experience other than a couple of series and runaway games? So, yeah, Tennessee used to have a JV program, and it's come and gone over the years. I asked a colleague of mine this question because I saw it earlier and I wanted to have an answer. Says it's a little costly. With the freshmen, you can't field an entire team with the freshmen. With the 20-hour rule, quotation marks, even the Division II 20-hour rule was kind of a gray area, right? But I'm sure they've clamped down on that a little bit more since I played. It's virtually impossible to do with the 20-hour rule. So those are some questions. But again, it's been done before. But those are kind of the big obstacles standing in the way. Josh says, I'm not necessarily worried about the offense by Oklahoma, just their defense. Do we think we can score 30-plus or 40-plus? My prediction's 45-17 if our defense keeps the work up. Yeah, man, I'm the same. I think Jackson Arnold's got a lot of talent. I think that he's got injuries and a brand-new offensive line in front of him that they've never had cohesive together, working together, that offensive line. I think he's had injuries at receiver. I think he might get a big weapon back in Nick Anderson this week. We'll have to see. He's got no run game so far. So he's got a lot of things working against him. I would agree. Their offense right now, keep him contained. He's going to, tuck it and run when he can. I don't think he wants to, but that's a lot of their best offense right now. I think that Tennessee's defense will have to monitor that. But, yeah, that defense is pretty good. You have a really, really good linebacker in Danny Strutzman. Numbers on the defensive line, not like Tennessee, but pretty good defensive line. An experienced back end that's not great, but they play aggressive, and they go up and get the football. I'm not going to give my prediction right now, but, Tennessee could certainly score 30 or 40-plus. I'm not going to call a blowout, but I have confidence in Tennessee's offense. I always do. Hunter wants to know, he says, what's up, Eric? What's your trip to Norman look like? Interested to hear how you're going about your week. Yeah, man, thanks for asking. Obviously, busy week getting ready. On top of that, I'm about to start the moving process. I'm moving home, so I've got a lot going on right now. As far as getting to Norman, I'm going to leave, me and Grant Ramey are going to leave Knoxville sometime Friday evening or late afternoon. We're going to fly to Tulsa. Eventually, we'll get into Tulsa, which is about 2 hours away from Norman. Spend the night in Tulsa, and then drive the rest of the way on Saturday. do the game. I'm glad that it's a night game so I can see a lot of Oklahoma City, Norman, kind of see everything, the game day experience. I'm looking forward to that. So I'll have all day Saturday, going to do the game Saturday night, drive back to Tulsa, and then catch an early flight. Should be home around noon if all goes well. So it is not a whole lot of sleep this weekend coming up, but again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you guys have any suggestions on things I need to check out in OKC or Norman on Saturday, please let me know. Austin says, what does Tennessee need to prove in this game to show that we're a legit contender? Win it convincingly on the road. I'm not saying that you take the win no matter what, okay? Wins don't always have to be super pretty, but if you want people coming out saying Tennessee can, I mean, I think there's some people saying that right now, but if you want people coming out saying Tennessee can win the national championship right now, cover the spread of 7.5 and win on the road like that, that would look pretty convincing. Tyler says, do you think our road woes are a fluke, or do you think it's a genuine concern? Oklahoma will be absolutely rocking. I'm not going to call it a fluke, man, okay? Dating back to 2022, I think in Athens, I'll say right now, I think the moment was too big, okay? I think in South Carolina, long story short, we can talk about it another day, 10, 15 years from now, I want to get together with some guys on the team and say, okay, statutes of limitations have passed, what happened? That game I'll just be so curious. People can say Connor Stallions or Jeremy Banks or the team was going to make a stand. I don't know about Connor Stallions, but none of that other talk is remotely accurate, okay? But Tennessee scored 30-plus and still got blown out by about 30 in that game. That was an issue. So I don't know about that. Florida last year, you were without Cooper Mays, but a lot of pre-snap issues, pre-snap penalties. Missouri last year, you just had a really bad day. Really bad. I mean, it was loud, but I don't think that was the issue for Tennessee like it was in Athens. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, I think this team needs to prove they go out and, win on the road in convincing fashion and look good doing it. I mean, they did that at LSU a couple years ago, but I'm not saying this is the reason they won the game, but I mean, it was an early game. It was an early game. A couple more here in this segment. Dakota says, do you think even with a healthy Cam Seldon, Deshaun Bishop takes the RB2 spot, and will he start as RB2 in the Oklahoma game? Yeah, he's RB2 right now, okay? I think Cam Seldon, when healthy, it's up to him to take that back. But Deshaun Bishop should not be punished for balling out when given the opportunity. And I'm not saying Cam Seldon won't take it back because he's super talented, but that's Deshaun Bishop right now, in my opinion. Ben says, how many D linemen you think on this team will be draft picks? I say 6, possibly 7. Got a couple years for some in the 2 and 3 deep. I think there's several defensive linemen that will be on NFL camps and a chance to make rosters. Draft picks, Amari Thomas will be a draft pick. Omar Norman Law will be a draft pick. We'll see if Bryson Easton's a draft pick. We'll see if Elijah Simmons is a draft pick, but I certainly think that they're going to be in camps to have a chance, no doubt, because Elijah Simmons is just such a physical freak. David Hobbs, we'll see. He's still young, still a little raw right now, but he's another one I put in that conversation. I haven't seen enough of Jackson Moy to have an opinion on that just yet. So that's the tackles. James Pearce is an NFL guy. Joshua Josephs right now, I would say, is an NFL guy. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's, not maybe draft picks, but I'd say at least 7. At least 7. Last one, Kanan says, who do you think will be the most key player against Oklahoma? A lot of key players in this one, obviously, but for the sake of this conversation, Dylan Sampson has got to have a day. He's got to help Nico, and that run defense for Oklahoma is pretty stout. So Dylan Sampson is going to have a Dylan Sampson type game. When we come back, we'll get into more of your questions and comments right here on Locked On Vols. FanDuel Sportsbook, you heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Oh, we got something a little different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season out-of-market Sunday afternoon game. All you need is a Google account and the current form of payments. You can cancel anytime. I took advantage of this on Sunday afternoon when I was watching tons of NFL coverage right here from the office, out-of-market coverage as well, games. Love taking advantage of that on Sunday afternoons during football season. And on the college front, 7.5, that totals at 58.5, Tennessee and Oklahoma. Tennessee is a touchdown favorite on the road. First time Oklahoma has been a touchdown dog on the road or at home since 1998. So feels like 98, and you can go win big over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Visit FanDuelSportsbook.com. Go ahead and check it out. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, it's where you can make every moment more. Welcome back in here to your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. I ran through a ton of questions in that first segment. Going to try to do the same thing here in the next couple of minutes to finish off a Tuesday show. Thank you guys so much for sending in these questions and being a part of the show, you everydayers. All right, Paulie says, how come we never hear from James Pearce in the media? He's arguably the best player on the team, and we never hear a peep. Well, I don't think he likes to talk, and a lot of times if you don't want to talk, you can't make them talk. Darnell Wright was the same way. Darnell Wright never wanted to talk, and he was a top 10 pick, if you remember from a couple of years ago. So James Pearce sometimes, I think after a game, if he balls out, he'll get in front of the media. I'm pretty sure he was made available to the media last year after the Citrus Bowl, but overall, he doesn't like to talk, and so I think that's kind of what that's about. I think it would behoove him to get in front of a microphone and take some questions because that'll certainly help him in the pre-draft process. Michael says, with the recent partnership with Pilots, are there parameters on how that money can be used for NIL? I don't want to act like I'm a super duper expert on this, but that was more Tennessee fundish. That was more to the school, and I don't want to say for certain because I'm not for certain, but I don't think that will have any impact on the NIL side of things. I think that was more or less for buildings and stadiums and renovations and stuff like that. But it's a long partnership, so that can always evolve. But I think right now it's not really focused towards that. Clayton says 3 games, 3 blowouts have led to a lot of young guys getting reps early in the year. How much will the reps for the young guys early in the year benefit them when we go up 65-0 in the first half on the 3rd Saturday of October? Yeah, it'll benefit them a lot because they'll be ready to roll and play in that football game. I just think in general, you go in fall camp where you're getting reps, and then a lot of these young guys, they go to scout team, after that. But really to start this season, they've been playing in these games, so that's good, keeping them engaged, keeping them locked in. It won't always be like that, we know that, but I think it's only, helpful. And I think Josh Heupel even said it on Monday, like practice is made to get developed, and you are worked and you are repped, and we take practice seriously, but there's something about getting repped and real life reps in games. And Tennessee's been able to do that. And I think it's huge for guys like William Satterwhite, Gasson Moore, who's a veteran, but you never know. I mean, Gasson Moore might be pressed into, services here if something were to happen to Nico. You hope not. But I think reps for him have been huge. I think reps for, Jesse Perry, Bennett Warren, a lot of those offensive linemen have been huge. Aaron says, hey, Eric, with the way the season is playing out so far, which game other than OU are you looking forward to the most? If we keep saying, I don't have my glasses on, I'm so sorry. If we keep playing this well on both sides of the ball, are you more excited about the possible blowout versus Bama or possible upset of Georgia after UK almost upset? Yeah, good question. If they keep playing the way they're playing right now, knocking off Georgia in Athens, heck yeah, man. I mean, Georgia would still be a top 5 team at that point, if not the top team in the nation by then if they overtake it again. Beating Alabama at home will be special for sure. But I mean, the game I'm looking forward to the most outside of this one's obviously Alabama because it's the closest one to me after Oklahoma. Really, really looking forward to that. It was such a special night, that 3rd Saturday in October back in 2022. Why not do it again, right? Jared says, as a longtime Tennessee fan, I've seen Tennessee's defense struggle against mobile quarterbacks. What does Tennessee need to do to keep Arnold in check this game? Contain. If you're an edge player, Don Bailey, Tyree West, or James Pearce, Joshua Josephs, if you're an edge player, keep them within the tackle box, meaning you cannot get your outside leverage. You got to keep it free, okay? He cannot go past you. If you are, I think Tennessee can also put a little spy on Arnold if need be, cover one spy where the linebacker's just spy on the quarterback, or maybe a safety comes down, they have a safety over the top and the safety spy on the quarterback. Spies, contain from your edge players up front, and go out and make a play. Jeremy wants to know, we have had 3 blowouts and we know the team is good. Is there anything you noticed or heard that was not good? 2-minute offense, I want to see that get better. 2-minute offense, and I don't know. I mean, special teams has been fine, but quit making penalties on special teams. Those are Those are my nitpicking things right now. And there'll be more that pop up. It's a long season. Robert says, with what OU likes to do on defense and Heupel typically having at least one tight end on the field every drive, do you expect UT in more 12 or 11 personnel on Saturday? I expect Tennessee to be in more 11 personnel because that is their base offense. But I do expect to see 12 again because I think that is a part of what they're throwing into the fold, short yardage. And if OU is pressuring off the edge and if OU is making things difficult for Tennessee's offensive line, then I expect to see some more 12. But I expect to see 11 because that's Tennessee's base. They're just showing the ability to run some 12 as well. I'm going to end on this one because I have I've got a lot more. Maybe I'll hit some more of these on tomorrow's show if you guys remind me. I see you, JT. I see you, Glock Falls. I see you, Lee. I see you, the Vols Rifleman, Kurt. I see all you guys, Cody. Sorry, I'm running out of time here. I'll try to answer yours on tomorrow's show, but let me get Dave here. Call me just an old Willie linebacker here, Mike Samwell. But wasn't the play that caused Jakobe Thomas to be ejected for targeting just a ball player putting his hat on the ball trying to make a play? I didn't see anything egregious there, but I played in a different era. Okay, so shortly, I said I'd talk about this on today's show anyway. It was nothing about the hit on the player. Like it wasn't like he took his head off. It wasn't like he was a defenseless receiver. They called targeting because Jakobe Thomas went in with the crown of his helmet, meaning it is a dangerous play for the tackler. Okay, for the tackler. Part of targeting is to protect the receiver, okay, but it's also, if you lead with the crown of your helmet, it's when you're going to break your spine back here and you're going to be eating food through a straw. That's what they always told us. And so that 100% was because Jakobe Thomas ducked his head and went in there. That is a dangerous, dangerous football play for him. I'm not talking about the hit. The hit was good. The hit was great. It was he going in with the crown of his helmet. 100% for the safety of the tackler. So I don't like targeting in general. People say, oh, you like people getting hurt. Of course I don't want people getting hurt. Of course I don't wish ill will on anybody. But the game of football is making it impossible to play defense. Can't hit a quarterback, can't hit him high, can't hit him low, can't hit him late, can't hit a receiver. Hell, there's a rule if you tackle a running back, too hard, it's a flag. I mean, it's ridiculous. But 100 in support of throwing a flag for targeting when the tackler is showing poor technique. That was poor technique because he went in with the crown of his helmet and he can get seriously injured. I've seen it before, guys. It's devastating. It's life-altering. So that is why Jakobe Thomas got flagged. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I have no issue with hard hits. I have no issue with 99% of targeting calls. But when it's like that, I 100% agree because it just takes one hit where something goes wrong and you break your spine. And that's not a good thing. So sorry to get a little animated there at the end. I know there's tons of more questions I didn't get into, and I promise I'll get to those. I'll try to make some time throughout the rest of the week. Thank you guys so much for joining me and sending these questions in here today. Make Locked On Vols your first listen. Locked On Vols your second listen. Or excuse me, make Locked On SEC your second listen. Make Locked On College Football your third listen here this morning and throughout the week right after Locked On Vols. Big-time showcase coming up in Norman, Oklahoma. Tennessee and the Sooners getting after it Saturday at 7:30. We'll get you covered, get you ready, get this game previewed from so many different angles all week long right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys as always. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody.